Did you know that the legendary club AC Milan was arguably the best club ever in the history of football? Now, you might choose to disagree and want to argue, but at what standards can we actually tag a football club as being the best in the world? Some of you might want to debate the fact based on the number of league titles, Champions League, or even if they have gone unbeaten for a whole season. And if that's the standard you want to look at, I hate to break it to you, but this football club has achieved that milestone. An even more interesting feat is that the club AC Milan has even caused arguments amongst its fans. The club has been known for its achievements in Italian and European football over the years, and during these accomplishments, they have been able to do this in different eras with different players, making fans argue what AC Milan team was really the prime AC Milan. The unstoppable Ganoli Trio. The year was 1950, when Milan was the king of Italian football, thanks to the legendary Swedish trio. You see, when we talk about the best trio in modern football, the debate might be between Barcelona's famous MSN, consisting of Messi, Neymar and Suarez, or Madrid's BBC, Bale, Benzema, and Cristiano Ronaldo. But back then, AC Milan had one of the greatest trio to grace the football pitch known as Ganoli. That's Gunnar Gren, Gunnar Nordahl, and Nils Lidholm. After Nordahl won the Olympic gold in 1949, he was convinced to join Milan, and 1 year later he was joined by his Swedish teammate. Together, this trio wreaked havoc in Serie A and European football. These attackers were a nightmare to teams, especially defenders. One of them was exceptional, Gunnar Nordahl, popularly known as the Pompierone. The Italian name, when translated, meant the fireman. The name was given to the Swede to refer to his profession in the country as a fireman. He put out fires for many years, in parallel to playing football, his great passion. As exceptional as he was as a fireman, he was incredibly above standards as a footballer. Nordahl was a dangerous striker during his time at Milan, racking up unbelievable figures in the club and stamping his name in the club's record to date. During his time at Milan, he played a total of 262 games and scored a total of 214 goals. Having spent just 8 years in the club to the very day, Nordahl is still the highest goal scorer in the club. Not only that, he also holds the record for the most golden boots in the history of the Italian top division. The trio's arrival at the club took the world by surprise. They made an immediate impact, restoring AC Milan to its former glory. Their most notable achievement came the following season when Milan won the Scudetto against Novara. That match proved just how ruthless they had become and hinted at the unstoppable force they would continue to be in the years ahead. The match came to a halt at halftime, with the Milan side cruising to a win, leading 3-1. Evidently, Novara had a very difficult time keeping up with Nordahl, Gren, and Lidholm. The whistle at halftime was a breather for Novara. And that's where the unexpected happened. As both teams headed to the locker room, a Novara player approached Analyses, asking him if their team could keep the scoreline as it is, or perhaps ask the merciless Swedish trio of wonders to take it down a notch. Nordahl's son, who was next to Analyses during the request, and who also understood a bit of Italian, was asked to send a message to his father about it. It is said that Gren responded to the request and denied Novarese's expectations. His response was, "We cannot do that, because the public paid for 90 minutes and will play for 90 minutes. It turned out that the unrelenting Rossoneri trio drove hard on Novara in the second half, as the score for Milan spiked up to 9-2. This match was just the beginning of a Milan side all football clubs dread to face. This historic win brought life to the San Siro again, and it kept fans on the top of the world. But this was only the beginning. The club would take things to the next level in hopes of living up to expectations. After a successful season, it was no news that rival teams were looking to have their revenge on the cruising Italian side. Everybody was looking to see what was in store for AC Milan, and the founder wasn't ready to leave the glory days just yet. Although the next decision about the club wasn't quite exactly what fans would expect, the question asked was, did Berlusconi make the right decision? A team of the devils. Right now, if we are asked what side is dominated by football, the argument would be between the Spanish side La Liga or the English Premier League. But what if I told you there was a time when football was dominated purely by the Italians? I'm talking about the year 1988 to 1990, when AC Milan had one of the best squads in football. This team had everything. I mean everything. The defense was solid as a rock, and the midfield was controlling the tempo of every game. They would press effortlessly whenever they lost possession and would play sublime football when they had the ball on their feet. The team was a thing of beauty to watch. When a football team is exceptionally good, it becomes a thing of pride to both their fans and the players, knowing that right now their club is dominating football, crushing every team they face. You could tell from the onset that Herbert Kilpin was pretty confident that the team would be unstoppable. Hence the motto, "We will be a team of devils. Our colors will be red like fire and black like the fear we will invoke in our opponents." This statement alone was enough to send shivers down their opponents, and boy did it work. Betting Milan's future on a nobody. Cause in the summer of 1987, fans were waiting for the next big thing in the coming season. Perhaps new players to strengthen the team, things like that. Berlusconi, on the other hand, had different plans. His plan involved signing the greatest nobody in football history. When the club mentioned their new head coach would be Arrigo Sacchi, everyone lost their mind. It seemed like Berlusconi was gambling with the club's future, and fans were starting to think that their glory days would soon come to an end. Arrigo Sacchi wasn't the ideal man to replace Milan's former coach Fabio Capello. He wasn't even a professional player in his youth, which is somehow a criterion before becoming a coach of a professional team. It only made sense that you should have at least played the game and be decent at it before you could consider managing a team as big as Milan. And although he did have some experience as a manager, it just wasn't enough to the fans. Not all coaches were exceptional players. For instance, managers such as Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, Rafael Benitez, and so on. These coaches during their time as players weren't exactly the best player in their team, but they were decent, played a vital role, and at least had some sort of contribution to the club's success during their time at the club. But Arrigo wasn't even half as good as these managers were. In fact, he wasn't even a professional football player. Arrigo was that bad, he couldn't even play for his local non-league team. And he knew it. So, he completely ignored his hopes of becoming a player and turned his attention to selling shoes. That was until he got called up to manage AC Milan. And at just 26 years old of age, he started to show that although he wasn't good enough to play, he was seemingly good enough to manage. When Arrigo first arrived at the club, there were expectations. The fans and even the players didn't exactly have this feeling of excitement when he was announced. Arrigo knew he had to win them over with little time on his hands. Arrigo Sacchi began his reign as manager by introducing a new style of football. He has always been a fan of a certain style of football, where the players are comfortable playing in multiple positions and adapting to roles on the fly. With this philosophy in mind, Arrigo was already on the path to success that no one ever imagined. Before Aragi's first season as coach in Milan, he had an idea of what he wanted his team to look like, and fortunately for him, he had one of the most influential people in Italy at the time, and in all likelihood, the world at his service. This key supporter not only had deep pockets, but was also ready to fulfill Sacchi's wishes instantly. Of course, hitting that subscribe button and liking the video was one of his wishes. So, subscribe, buddy! No, but for real, AC Milan were already rocking the likes of Franco Baresi, who had stayed with the club through thick and thin. The club also had a club legend who at the time was young and promising, Paolo Maldini. As if that wasn't enough, they went ahead and added some huge names, starting off with Marco van Basten, who at that time was the Eredivisie top scorer of the past 4 years. Now that's a way to make your announcement as a manager. It didn't stop there. Aragi also pushed for the signing of the most expensive player in the world at that time, Ruud Gullit. For a whopping sum of 6.75 million euros, Aragi wanted to make it clear that he meant business. And what better way than to bring one of the biggest names in football into an already well-established team? That's similar to what teams like Manchester City did by bringing in Erling Haaland to an already dominant squad, and how PSG signed Messi to a team that already boasted players like Mbappe, Neymar, and Di Maria. Sacchi didn't stop there. He saw the need to strengthen his midfield and brought in the maestro himself, Carlo Ancelotti, known for his iconic eyebrows. With these new additions, combined with an already dominant Milan squad, the team entered their first season under Sacchi with high expectations. Sacchi's tactical revolution and Milan's glory years. Ever heard the saying, attack is the best form of defense? It might sound absurd, but when you realize that this team went through the whole season conceding only 14 goals, you start to see the sense in it. Sacchi's first season at Milan brought glory back to the San Siro after winning the Scudetto in his first ever attempt. Now that's how you silence critics. No, for real, even I'm speechless. But gotta get back to the video. These players dominated football not only on the pitch, but also in every competition they entered. Their prowess was so remarkable that they all ranked among the top 3 in the Ballon d'Or standings in 1988. Sacchi spent 3 years at the club, during which 7 of Milan's players appeared on the Ballon d'Or podium, with one of them winning the award each time. There simply wasn't a player in their league back then. They were winning everything, and the fans loved every moment. Sacchi commanded one of his best defensive lines in football history. Giovanni Galli was their reliable goalkeeper, supported by an impenetrable defense featuring Paolo Maldini, Alessandro Costacurta, Franco Baresi, and Mauro Tossotti. The midfield was anchored by Carlo Ancelotti and Frank Rijkaard, with Angelo Colombo and Roberto Donadoni on the wings. Up front, they had the lethal duo of Ruud Gullit and Marco van Basten. Thanks to this combination, AC Milan won the European Cup back-to-back. They first thrashed Steaua Bucuresti in the final, having already demolished Real Madrid 5-1 in the semi-finals. Sacchi had transformed AC Milan into a machine and restored both domestic and continental glory to the San Siro. After 4 years at the club, his time was up, and he moved on to bigger challenges, as he was confident that he had achieved his goals and silenced the critics. Godlo Saladi Era. Following Sacchi's departure, the club saw a series of managerial changes before arriving at the current manager, Paulo Fonseca. One coach who came close to Sacchi's success was none other than Carlo Ancelotti. Ancelotti's coaching career began as an assistant to Arrigo Sacchi with Italy's 1994 FIFA World Cup finalists before he ventured into club management with Reggiana and Parma, and later taking over at Juventus and then Milan. Ancelotti spent 7.5 years at San Siro, as he won the UEFA Champions League twice and the Serie A title once before moving to Chelsea in 2009. Between 1995 and 2001, he managed Reggiana, Parma, and Juventus before rising to prominence with Milan. He was appointed as manager in 2001 and led the team to victory in the 2002-2003 Champions League and Coppa Italia. The following season, he secured the Scudetto with a then-record 82 points from 34 games. And 3 years later, although Ancelotti's team achieved significant success, on paper, it didn't quite measure up to Sacchi's era. A deeper analysis shows that Ancelotti's side lacked the invincible aura that defined Sacchi's squad, as they often struggled during their European campaigns. So, if we consider what Arrigo Sacchi accomplished with AC Milan, it's hard not to regard his team as the pinnacle of Milan's history. 'Cause, who could truly stop them? Comparatively, the 2007 AC Milan team suffered setbacks in both their European and league campaigns. Meanwhile, Sacchi's team captured 2 Intercontinental Cups, 2 European Super Cups, 2 European Cups, and a Scudetto, a total of 7 titles in just 4 years. The period between 1987 and 1996 stands as one of the most magical in any club's history. While Milan experienced success before and after this era, those 9 years were truly remarkable. This was a team that signed the very best, during a time when the Ballon d'Or was awarded to different players each year. In that span, 5 Ballon d'Or winners played for Milan, with only one of them winning it more than once. They had some of the most legendary players in history, achieved empathetic victories against top clubs, and often did so by a wide margin. This period, this extraordinary era, in my view, truly represents prime AC Milan. With the arrival of Paulo Fonseca as AC Milan's new head coach, along with a new generation of players, do you think it's possible for Fonseca and his squad to replicate the achievements of Milan's prime era and perhaps bring back those golden days? Be sure to drop your thoughts in the comments.